Hey, it's Sparky, Fifer, 1250 AM, The Fan, here in beautiful Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Follow me on Twitter at Sparky Radio. My guy, Ryan Horvat, BetMGM tonight, weeknights, Nika Shue and Trista Crick. You can check them out on the BetQL Radio Network if you live in one of those fortunate, fine cities that carry BetQL Radio. Otherwise, check them out online on your Odyssey app, too. Follow Ryan on Twitter at Ryan Horvat. Got lots to get to on today's show, right? So we've got Mark Murphy's comments coming from the owners' meetings. Looking forward to that. We've got Packers Hall of Fame, a couple of new names for the Packers Hall of Fame to get to as well today. That was announced. We have to talk about the new company that the Packers just bought. And CBS announced their announcer teams for today. Some new names. We can discuss those and see if Ryan Horvat likes any of the teams that have been put together for announcers. And I'm guessing, like always with Ryan and me, there are some that we don't like at all and can't stand. So we'll get to all of that. Let's start first with the comments made. First of all, Brian Gutekunst pretty much didn't say much, if anything, other than, he's happy Jordan Love kind of waited his turn and, so forth. And every time he said Jordan Love, he got applause, he got cheers. So fans kind of getting behind their new guy, Jordan Love, which I think is obviously good to see, Ryan, because that did not happen when Rodgers took over for Brett Favre. He got booted every which way in turn. At least Jordan Love now is getting the support of the fan base.
Yeah, I mean, and he deserves it, right? He waited his turn. It's his turn now. I don't think there's any reason to boo Jordan Love. I mean, I'm the biggest Aaron Rodgers guy that there is, but it's Jordan Love's turn. Rodgers didn't want to be in Green Bay anymore. He wanted to be a Jet. Now he's a Jet. I think this is best case for everybody, right? And it's time for change. And now we get to figure out what they have in Jordan Love, because if he's not the guy, they're going to have to figure out who the guy is, because you don't want this to be a 2-decade rebuild like the Lions and the Bears have been going through in the NFC North. So it is good to see everybody, get behind him, because he's going to need that confidence early on. He's going to need people to rally behind him, because there's going to be some growing pains most likely early on for Jordan Love.
No doubt about it. Let's talk a little bit about some of Mark Murphy's comments, because those were the good ones. First, he praised Gutekunst before Gutekunst came on, I think it was, praising him for drafting Jordan Love in 2020. And quote, that put us in a position where we can be competitive for the long term, end quote, from Mark Murphy before he introduced Brian Gutekunst. Thoughts on the praising of the Jordan Love trade and making that move by Mark Murphy?
Yeah, I still think it's one of the dumbest draft picks in NFL history. And moving up to get Jordan Love, I thought was really stupid in the first round. I was talking about this on social media. I'm not the biggest Mark Murphy guy. I mean, Goot does what Goot has to do. I get that. It's a business. But, Aaron Rodgers, after that draft pick, went on to win 2 MVPs. T. Higgins caught double-digit touchdowns. And I know people are sick of me bringing up T. Higgins. But also, you could have got your quarterback of the future, because Jalen Hurts, I know he wasn't there when the Packers picked in the second round. But if you were willing to move up in the first round, you could have got yourself a T. Higgins. And then in the second round, moved up and got Jalen Hurts, who I believe, as I look at the board, has the second best odds to win the NFL MVP this season. And Jordan Love's a big project. So I don't want to hear this. Okay, you could say it's the best time to draft a quarterback is when you don't need one. I disagree with that. But you could have drafted one in a later round, and it could have been Jalen Hurts. If you were going to draft a project, Jalen Hurts' ceiling was just as high as Jordan Love's ceiling. And he's already reached that ceiling. It took him 1 year, and he played in the Super Bowl. The last time we saw Jordan Love, he led the nation in picks thrown at Utah State. In college, when we saw Jalen Hurts, we saw him, playing some big games at Alabama. Sure, he got benched for Tua, but then he went to Oklahoma and broke a bunch of records. So you could say, hopefully if Jordan Love's the guy, they're not drafting a quarterback in the first round here in the next 2 to 3 years. I have no problem with you doing it in the third or fourth round. But if you wanted a project, Jalen Hurts would have been there. So that's my issue, is I would have rather had T. Higgins, because those were some really good teams. And instead of having a top wide receiver in the league to pair with Devontae Adams, then maybe Rodgers doesn't have to force it to Devontae 3 straight drives in an NFC championship game against Tampa, because on the other side, it's not EQ, who had just dropped a 2-point conversion, or MVS.
Right.
It's T. Higgins. So that was my issue. There was way too much talent in that draft. Crap, man. Jonathan Taylor was in that draft. I know you got A.J. Dillon in the second round, and everybody loves A.J. Dillon because he wrote a kid's book and he goes and visits Door County and he has big legs. But I like Jonathan Taylor a little bit better. So I think Mark Murphy is a doofus, and I thought that was a terrible draft pick, and I completely disagree with everything that he had to say there.
Okay, so Murphy then goes on to talk about Aaron Rodgers. And thanks Rodgers for his time in Green Bay and essentially wishes him well in New York and so forth. And then apparently some people started booing. Now, first off, you aren't there and I'm not there. So all I'm looking at is social media, right? And I'm seeing people reply when it was said that, when Murphy brought up that the people were booing, people were like, we didn't hear any booing in our section. Like, where was it coming from? But Murphy literally stopped talking about Rodgers and said, no. Like, he's always going to be a Packer. We're going to retire his number at some point. We'll bring him back and retire his number at the appropriate time, Murphy said. So Murphy responded to, it must have been a small faction of people booing Rodgers when he brought up Rodgers' name. He could have just ignored it because obviously there wasn't enough for a lot of these people to say they didn't even hear it. He could have just ignored it and moved on. Instead, he stopped and said, no, pretty much don't boo him. He's always going to be a Packer and so forth. I don't know if I would have stopped or if I would have just kept going and said what I was going to say. He stopped to make a point. Did he do it because in the back of his mind, he's like, great, Rodgers going to see him booing. I don't say anything about it. And then he's going to be all pissed off again at me. Or did he do it just to be honest, which is, dude, he's going to be a Packer. Like, Brett's still always going to be a Packer. He's going to be a Packer. He's going to be in the Packer Hall of Fame. We're going to retire his jersey number. All this stuff is going to happen. Let's not boo Aaron Rodgers. Because you know damn right well, if they end up playing the Jets in 2 years, because they're not going to play him this year, but if they end up playing him the following year and he's still a quarterback for the Jets, will he get booed? Won't he get booed when he comes back? I have no idea. I couldn't tell you. I would assume not.
None of these jabronis have jobs if it's not for Aaron Rodgers the last 2 decades. They don't want you to boo him. Mark Murphy's not around still if Aaron Rodgers wasn't taking dog crap teams with Ladarius Gunter as your top shutdown corner to NFC title games. Oh, and then he didn't get the job done. You don't boo Aaron Rodgers. What a clown fan base this is becoming, by the way.
They booed Brett Favre.
And the reason that you booed Brett Favre because he's a terrible human being and he quit.
No, stop. Time out. We didn't hold on. Time out. We did not know about the whole welfare thing and everything else in Mississippi at that point. So
a year later, we knew how bad of a person he was.
Well, yes, in other aspects, sure, yes, I would agree. But that was all because of everything that happened with the Fox News thing, him trying to break into family night, all this other stuff. Rodgers hasn't done any of that stuff for the most part, right? So, like I said before, and I'll say it again, I think people just got tired of him and we're like, fine, just go. Like, we're good. Let's go. And Murphy even said in his comments that he just thought it was time to move on. He admitted that the Packers thought it was time to move on.
I get it. People got tired of him playing with a broken thumb. People got tired of him coming out with a broken leg and beating the Bears. People got tired of back-to-back and, going to the NFC Championship and being a 13-win team 3 consecutive seasons. I get it. Just because they didn't get their Super Bowl rings. Rodgers isn't the reason that they didn't win more Super Bowls. I got bad news for you. It was bad defense after bad defense. It was terrible special teams. Two really good teams seasons came down to bad special teams play. The Seattle run and then the San Francisco run. And I don't want to hear Rodgers had the ball and didn't do anything. It was negative 15 degrees. He had a big coat on. The offense literally
didn't make excuses. Don't make excuses. If that's Jordan Love in the same situation this year, you're not going to bail out Jordan Love with it was negative 15 degrees. You're going to kill him.
I promise. No, I won't. If Jordan Love has a double-digit lead, right, and it's just like, hey, let's run the ball. Like, let's look at if Jordan Love, like if that's, Spark, if they're going against the Bears in that game or Seattle or any other even the Rams this year, okay, yeah, you got to put up points, but that was a good Niners defense. It was cold as hell. Nick Bosa is the best defensive player on the planet. Fred Warner's the best cover linebacker.
And that was your supposed home field advantage that you worked all year to get was home field advantage. And that quote, home field advantage, we're not using as the excuse of why we couldn't win. Right?
No, they win that game if a punt and a kick aren't blocked. That was the special team's fault. That wasn't the defense was awesome. The offense was crap, but it was cold and they were going like the Niners offense was crap. The Niners didn't score an offensive touchdown in that game. What did they do? What did the great Deebo Samuel and George Kittle do in that? Like nobody was doing anything because it was cold and it was 2 good defenses that night going at it. And the Packers had the advantage. The disadvantage they had was a doofus special teams coordinator and a bunch of doofuses on special teams like always. I know that now we've forgiven Brandon Bostic and he's in Green Bay every other week and we're giving him high fives. And I feel bad that nobody deserves death threats and whatnot, but he cost them a trip. Get out of Jordy Nelson's freaking way. He's a Packer Hall of Famer. I'm angry today, if you can't tell.
I know you're angry. That's fine. Can you just admit something to me? Can we just admit that Rodgers is not a cold weather quarterback? Like, that was never a thing. It wasn't.
I think he was
and
early
everybody
on.
about, we want home field advantage in Green Bay, blah, blah, blah. No, what we wanted was a bunch of dome games for Rodgers and his wide receivers to feast. That's what you wanted. He didn't want to be able to play in the damn snow, and he can say whatever he wants. And I'll tell you something else. If you think Rodgers is going to go win games in Buffalo in December and January, or even in New York for this matter in January, February, I can't wait to see how that's going to play out, because it's going to be just as cold there and snow and all that other stuff. He didn't go to a dome team. He didn't go to a warm weather team like Miami. They get home field. It's going to be the same crap he had to deal with in Green Bay.
Hey, the way that I'm sticking up, and quit trying to turn me against my quarterback, Jordan Love. Everybody on social media, I'm allowed to say that pick sucked. You know who else that pick sucked for? My quarterback, Jordan Love, who's had to sit on a bench and watch a bunch of scrubs. You know, like, no offense to Colt McCoy, but I was watching.
You just
Colt
called him
McCoy.
a scrub.
He's 55 years old. I shouldn't have used his name, right? Look at some of those guys that started games. Like Andy Dalton was starting games for the Saints last year. Taysom
Just
Hill
sold an Andy Dalton Bengals jersey at a rummage sale this weekend.
So Jordan Love, that poor kid, is watching Davis Mills start 16 games for the Texans, waiting his turn. That pick sucked for him, too. He should have got to go somewhere and play right away, or in a year or two if he wasn't this project. So stop trying to turn me against my guy, Jordan Love. I'll always say that was a terrible pick, even if he goes on to be Aaron Rodgers. But no, man, if Jordan Love loses playoff games because Ladarius Gunter's covering Julio Jones, or special teams gets a punt or a kick blocked, I'll come to his defense too.
Good.
You know,
I'm looking forward to it.
It takes a full team to win Super Bowls.
It does.
That's why Peyton Manning only won one for your Colts. The reason Brady has all those.
Peyton Manning was a choke. That's why they only won one for my Colts. He was a choke. The man threw more dumb interceptions, playoffs after playoffs after playoffs. He was the Colts version of Brett Favre. That's what Peyton Manning was. Like Brett, a great regular season quarterback, and like Brett, a choke in the playoffs. That's who Peyton Manning was. That man will always be regarded by me as one of the biggest choke artists ever as far as quarterbacks go in playoff history. Awful. Absolutely awful. There was no defending how bad that dude was in playoff games.
I just want to throw this out there one more time for this Aaron Rodgers is a choke artist narrative. Like
I said, Brett. Manning and Brett.
Oh, yeah. No. But this isn't about you.
Oh,
okay. I can't agree with you on Manning. Well, maybe I do a little bit on Manning, but bad defenses too. But Aaron Rodgers, a QB rating of over 100, over 5,894 yards, 45 touchdowns to just 13 picks and 22 playoff games. There's not a Brady's number.
The problem is though, Ryan, is when you. But Ryan, when you say those numbers, okay, fine. The outside, that's fine. But when Brady throws 3 picks and you can't score in the second half of that game and lose, some of that is going to go on the quarterback.
Fair, but he also threw over 350 yards, 3 touchdowns, only 1 pick, and that pick should have been called back. That was defensive holding on that play. And let's remember, dude, that David Bakhtiari a couple weeks earlier tears his ACL. Their offensive line. Rodgers got sacked 5 times in that game. He got hit, 15? Like, everybody's like, he should have ran it in. Maybe he gets there. I don't think that he does. Also, in the back of his head, he has been hit by go back and look at that defense too, man. Like
they were good.
2 weeks later, Patrick Mahomes scores 9 points against that defense. He was running for his life, and everybody's like, man, Mahomes should have won Super Bowl MVP for the performance he put up, just running away from that pass rush. Okay, then Rodgers should have been MVP the prior week because he put up over 350 on that secondary and 3 touchdown passes. Dude, I mean, there was a bad drop by EQ. You go back and you watch that. Yeah, I mean, he's forcing the ball to Devontae. He's not forcing the ball to Devontae. If T frickin' Higgins is on the other side. I digress.
Right back to T Higgins. Oh, my God. If you don't own a T Higgins jersey, that's a crime because nobody is a bigger T Higgins fan than Ryan Horvat. I know. You should have a jersey. That's all I'm saying. All right, let's move on to topic number 2. Jordy Nelson and Josh Sitton going into the Packers Hall of Fame. Josh Sitton obviously was a regular on the Wendy's Big Show during Packer football seasons when he was in Green Bay. So excited to see him get in. Packers offensive lineman. And then, of course, Jordy Nelson, one of the Packer all-time favorites, I would say. Thoughts on these two going into the Packer Hall of Fame together? I know one thing. It'll be highly entertaining. I guarantee you that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I want to be at the banquet for this night, man.
Yes.
Like Josh Sitton with a microphone. Yes. Absolutely.
Swearing Jordy, left and right, and God knows what else he's going to say.
Yeah. I mean, that was my favorite era of Packer football just because, I mean, Oh, man. I mean, those teams were fun. Wish they would have won some Super Bowls, obviously. But Jordy Nelson's my favorite wide receiver in Packer history. I own all the Jordy Nelson jerseys. Huge fan. My wife's a huge fan. Great guy on and off the field. And then Josh Sitton, just entertaining as hell, and was a great football player for a couple years. Packers did the right thing, obviously, with him and TJ Lang, letting them go a year, probably 2 years too early. But it's good to see guys like that go into the Hall of Fame. I want to be there for that banquet, though. Really quick, do you think Rodgers goes back for that, especially Jordy? Or no, probably not. He won't be able to because he'll be playing still. Wow, you would think they would wait and kind of like get all these guys in there together. You would think that Rodgers would want to be there for Jordy and vice versa.
I don't think Brett ever came back for anybody's Packer Hall of Fame introduction.
Nobody's?
Nope. I'd have to check with Gary Ellerson and Leroy Butler to make sure I'm right. But I don't think he was in attendance as a guest while somebody else got inducted ever.
When you think about it, like, who would he come back for, though? You know?
No, the spin is he would take away from the inductees by being in the room. And you could make the same argument about 12. If 12 walks in, where are all the cameras going? They're not going to be on Jordy and Josh Sitton anymore. They're all going to 12. Who's everyone going to want to talk to? 12. They're not going to want to. Jordy, Josh, hey, congratulations. And let's talk about New York, buddy. How did that go with the Jets? Da-da-da-da-da. Do you regret everything that happened here in Green Bay? Like, it would completely sidetrack that whole night if he showed up.
Dude, side note really quick. How good does Rodgers look this season? I get why some people are pissed off. He's going to break the touchdown passing and yardage record. He's in better shape than I am, and he's older than me. He is in.
Where was this last year?
Last year he looked like my uncle that's living in a Winnebago, still following around the Grateful Dead. This season he looks like.
It's amazing when you're motivated how much better everything becomes for Aaron Rodgers. Did you see the piece that Sauce Gardner gave him?
That was awesome. Yeah, the 8,
number 8 or whatever that he gave him.
You got to put it on me. Yeah, I get a kick out of this. I like this.
Now you read what's coming out in New York with the practices and so forth early on for training camp, and he's putting on a show by all accounts. Like the one dude, Connor Hughes, is that the guy's name?
Yeah.
Okay, that dude. One tweet was, "My God, I did not realize how good he was." But now I do, and this is a lot of fun because he's watched crappy quarterbacks in New York for how long covering the Jets, and now he sees this dude, and he's like, holy crap, how did he make that throw? How did he make that throw? And Packers media, they're used to it, like, oh, another great throw by Aaron. Yeah, that was a good throw there. And Jets media are freaking out. Now, again, there's no pads on. They're still running around kind of in shells or shorts or whatever they got going on over there. But he definitely looks good by all accounts. And do you know who else looks good? Zach Wilson looks good. Zach Wilson looks really good, it sounds like.
I'll believe that when I see it, to be honest.
This is what they want, though. Hey, look, best of both worlds. If Rodgers could get them to the playoffs and contend for a Super Bowl, not even saying win it, but get them there and get everybody up. And then when he walks away, Zach Wilson is right there to take over and be a better quarterback than he was before Rodgers came. Jets win across the board then.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I think what's going to end up happening, like the same jabronis that were booing Aaron Rodgers today at the little fake owner meeting, they're going to be the same guys that are complaining when Aaron, the first 4 weeks of the season, comes out and it's a laser show like they're talking about. He's motivated. He looks like the best quarterback in the league again. And maybe there's like some growing pains for Jordan. And guys like me will be there for Jordan Love. Like it's going to be a project. I mean, I hope he just comes out and lights the world on fire right away. But I'm just saying those would be the same guys complaining like, oh, we let Rodgers go too early. Jordan Love's a bum. He's a bust. Because what I'm saying is, guys like Connor Hughes, right, they've been watching Chris Streveler and, Zach Wilson throw the ball into the stands and skip at people's feet the last 3-4 years of practice. So they're like, holy cow, this guy is a legend. And we've taken that for granted because we haven't won more Super Bowl games.
That's correct, yeah.
And so now, like, if Jordan Love isn't Aaron Rodgers right away, there's going to be people that don't understand football that complain. And he's not going to be Aaron Rodgers right away.
See, this is exactly why I was complaining about not winning more than one damn Super Bowl with Brett, not winning more than one damn Super Bowl with Aaron. Because now the window very well is closed if Jordan Love isn't anything, and you may not see them in another Super Bowl the rest of your life.
Yeah, ever.
Max, you may not see him in another Super Bowl the rest of your life in Green Bay. And that's why when everybody was saying, oh, you're spoiled, Sparky. Oh, you don't get it, Sparky. No, I do get it. He's going to be gone or retire at some point, and then it's over more than likely. Then you're going to understand what this is like. I remember watching the Packers before Brett. It sucked. And I know what this very well could be after Aaron if Jordan Love doesn't pan out. It could be just as bad as it was before. So that's why a lot of us were all anxious and getting pissed off that they couldn't finish, they couldn't close, and you only got one appearance. Brett got 2 appearances. You only got 1 appearance with a Hall of Fame quarterback. That just, I don't know, that seems crazy to me. All right, let's go to topic number 3. This one had me laughing this morning. The Packers had a press conference prior to the stakeholders meeting to announce that they have bought the company that makes the foam cheeseheads. So foam cheeseheads will now be like $100 probably. And the Packers will have all kinds of fun stuff. I think it's funny that they bought them because they bought the rest of Green Bay at some point. I mean, they've bought like every city block in Green Bay. They own like everybody's house. They own everything. They've knocked down a bunch of people's houses and took over their land and built stuff. So I'm not really that surprised that they own the company that makes the cheeseheads. What I am kind of wanting to see is how much are they going to go up in price? Because I bet you they go up in price. And how fun will these be? Like, will cheeseheads now have players' names on them or players' numbers on them? Or what will they do with them? Because now you could have the Jordan Love cheesehead, the Christian Watson cheesehead, because now the Packers own them. They can put names on all Packer players' names on all of them. You can have all those different variations of colors and whatever. You could have, you remember the Bucs? They've done it for a while. 3 players get to design a Bucs hat, and then they sell them throughout the season or whatever, and then the profits go to charity or whatever. You could have Packer players design what their cheesehead should look like with their name and number on it or whatever, and have different colored cheeseheads and the whole deal. It could be a whole big moneymaker for them.
Oh yeah. Well, they started like doing different things with them. You know what I mean? There was like the cheese helmet, but yeah, I mean, you could even get like a cheese helmet, like helmet rather than like the like hat type.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I think all of that is possible. It opens up Pandora's box as far as what you could actually do with all of this. Now it's just a matter of what they're going to do with it with Murphy. I wonder if that company was in trouble. And if the Packers wrote in and said, we're not going to let it go bankrupt and just disappear and have no cheeseheads. So we'll just buy it from you and we'll run it.
The Packers have so much money pumping in. Like every time I go to the pro shop, there's like something new added. And I'll go, and I'll go multiple times this season though. I'll go like week 2 and then I'll be back week 10 and I'll be like, man, was this here before? Now they're going to be pumping out all that. Like you said, the possibilities of what they could do with it are endless. So what I'm saying is they better be spending money in free agency here the next couple of years.
Don't you just think that they just build a brick and mortar shop now in Titletown District that have all the different foam elements, cheese heads, cheese helmets, cheese hats, like just a whole brick and mortar store? You ever gone to one of those baseballism stores?
Yeah.
That they have all over the country? Just like that. Yeah. It's just a very small storefront, not a lot in it, just whatever you want it to be, and sell it separate from the pro shop.
You know what you could do even is you could have like the factory in there, and so you could watch how they're making the cheese heads and the cheese helmets and everything else, and you could personalize like kind of like Build-A-Bear, right?
Yeah,
like
you're talking. Yes.
And with all this money, then we could sign TJ Watt maybe, since we didn't draft him because we drafted Kevin King, who checks.
You are bitter today, aren't you? You are just a bitter dude
hey,
today.
You want to talk about why Aaron Rodgers doesn't have more Super Bowls? I don't even want to bitch and complain about the wide receivers. T. Higgins, Schmiggins, right? They do a good job identifying talent in the later rounds. I'll give them that. You know what they don't do a good job of? Identifying any talent for the defensive side of the ball. Darnell Savage. We'll see what Eric Stokes is. I did see a good report. Eric Stokes set to be ready for week 1. Can't wait to watch him get torched again like he did the first 4 games of last season.
So angry. It should be Sparky and the angry guy on Kurt and Luck. Okay, let's go.
I was in a good mood.
Let's go to the next one.
Oh, I got all these text messages on a Monday.
CBS announces their NFL announcing teams today, and I was like, "Well, this could be pretty fun. Let's see what this is all about and have this conversation." Because again, we're not going to like all the announced teams, so just be prepared. Like, don't be surprised when we start going over all this. Okay, so Jim Nantz, Tony Romo, Tracy Wolfson. I think we are in agreement. This is fine.
So here's the thing. Tracy Wolfson is the star of the show. Absolutely love her. I think she's the best in the business. She gets better every year too. I love her. I think Nance is still good, even though he has a huge ego. Like Jim Nance is the greatest. Just ask Jim Nance. Guy loves himself. Who gives a tie at the end of the tournament every year to a kid? Like, who cares? Romo.
Why don't you like kids for?
What do you mean? No. I think like Nance, like, remember at the end of the tournament, he would find a kid and he would like just hand him his tie. Like at the end, the kids are probably like, why do I want this old man's tie? Like, get out of here. Who do you think you are? You know, I'm Ja frickin' Morant. What am I going to do with Jim Nance's tie? Romo was excellent year one when he was like Nostradamus, but then either he got real lazy when he got the big bucks, which does happen in this business, obviously, or they dummied him down and they said, hey, like, you're calling everything when you come up to the line of scrimmage. We don't want to know that this is...
You're making everybody look bad.
Yeah, you're like, exactly. So, like, just be a doofus for the next couple seasons because that's what Romo's become. It's just noisy. Like, but I miss, like, the Romo. Where's Romo from year one where he was, like, making us smarter football fans? Now, if anything, he's making us dumber. So I'm actually out on Romo, to be honest with you. Love Nance and Wolfson, though.
I love Jim Nance, one of the coolest dudes ever. Just always been super nice to me. So I got no issues with Jim Nance. All right, let's move on. Kevin Harlan. Love Kevin Harlan. Yeah, Trent Green and Melanie Collins. That is your next one. Thoughts, Ryan Horvat?
I think this is actually the like the go-to team. I think that they've actually, in my opinion, replaced Romo and Nance is the better team. I think Harlan is the best. I think he's the greatest of all time. He's got a great personality. I'm not just sucking up because I love his daughter, Olivia, and we work for pretty much the same company, and she comes on our show. I just think he's awesome. Like, he's so funny, man. A fan, like a streaker, could run on the field, and he's going to give you play-by-play of that. And he doesn't take away. I mean, Nance is great too, but Harlan doesn't like take away from the game. He lets it breathe. Trent Green's pretty damn good. I think he gets a little bit better. And I don't have anything bad to say about Melanie Collins, man. She's tremendous as well. I used to watch her on the Golf Channel all the time. So I like this team a lot. No complaints from me. My A team.
Iron Eagle, Charles Davis, and Evan Washburn.
Yeah, I like them too. I don't really have anything bad to say about these teams, to be honest with you. I like Charles Davis. I hear a lot of Charles Davis because he's also the color guy in Madden every single year. My only complaint about Charles Davis would be like my complaint about Madden, that they need to redo their commentary. It's been the same commentary for the last 4 years. He's not my favorite color guy. I will say that. But again, he's improving every year. He's not bad. And Iron Eagle's a pro. He's great.
I have issue with three-person booths. I'll be honest. So we've got Andrew Catalone. Is that how you say his name? Tiki Barber, Matt Ryan in one booth. And then you have another booth of Chris Lewis, Jason McCourty, and Ross Tucker. I love Ross Tucker on Westwood One when it's a two-person team. And I'm fine with Ross Tucker and McCourty, I guess. I just don't like three-person TV booths. I just think it can get confusing at times. People are trying to get too much in, and the play-by-play guy still has to call the action while the other two are trying to get points across. I prefer to eliminate all three-person teams. If it was up to me, I like just the two-man booths myself. What say you, Ryan Horvat, on three-person booths?
I agree. I don't like the three-person booth. You know what I mean? Like, remember Monday Night Football when they tried to get cute with it and they had Dennis Miller for that year trying to tell jokes?
Yep.
That was a mess. I'm with you because even like, man, I got to be honest. I mean, you the Wendy's Big Show, there was a lot of you, and I don't like even like three-man shows. I like two mics. Three's too many. Unless it's like the sports junkies here in DC and you guys grew up together and you've been best friends and you have such good chemistry. What I deal with usually on like 3 or 4 person booths is, you know what I mean? Even with me, I like to talk a lot. Even doing a show with another person's tough enough. So I'm with you. And Tiki Barber on that first team? No thanks. I mean, well, he works for the company, does a great job, but he's the biggest hot take artist. He has a take that Daniel Jones is going to have a better season than Aaron Rodgers. And like when I hear takes like that, I'm kind of.
Then you just say he's a Giant. Like, he's a former New York Giant. You expect him to praise. Listen,
I don't want homers calling me
coming in today. Right, but I was listening to Sirius NFL Radio coming in today. Charlie Weiss has his own show. Very insightful, very good. But Charlie Weiss said he wouldn't be surprised no matter who wins that division with the Bills, Jets, Patriots, and Dolphins. And then turns to his co-host and goes, would you be surprised if the Patriots won the division? And the guy goes, yeah, I'd be really surprised if the Patriots won the division. And then Weiss went on to try and defend because they have Belichick that gives him a chance to win the division. But again, he's a former Patriot who's boys with the head coach. So of course he's going to say something like that. Now go to the other side of this. You talk about hot takes. Mike Tannenbaum, former NFL GM. Did you see what he just said over the weekend? I think it was. He came out and said he thinks the Packers will win the division. He thinks Jordan Love and the Packers win this division. And everybody is losing their mind that Tannenbaum is saying the Packers are going to win the division. But he came out and said it. And I don't know if he really justified it great, but he pretty much said that if you look at Rodgers waiting behind Favre and how well that worked out, he said, I was involved with that with the Jets, with Brett Favre and all that stuff. And the way the Packers talked then is the exact same way they're talking now about Jordan Love. And they're feeling just as confident based on how they're talking, like how they felt confident in Rodgers at that point. And he thinks that's why Love is going to be better than people think, because people don't know.
Well, first things first, I'm having a bad Monday. And you bring up Charlie Weiss, of all people, and give him praise after what he did to my Notre Dame Fighting Irish.
Notre Dame.
And you bring up Charlie. What next do you want to talk about? Huh? You want to bring up Drew Pine? You want to talk about the Bush Push?
Ooh.
Charlie Weiss. And he does a good show. Well, here's the thing. I don't even think that's a hot take. I think that if your guy Mark Murphy wants to give such praise to Brian Gutekunst, I think the Packers should be the favorites to win the NFC North. I don't think that's a hot take. Yeah, Aaron Rodgers is a Hall of Fame quarterback, but you drafted Jordan Love in the first round and you passed on, again, T. Higgins, and you moved up in the first round for him. You have, 8 out of your 11 starters on the defensive side of the ball are first-round picks. Isn't Jair Alexander the best corner in the league, right? I mean, Rashawn Gary is one of the best pass rushers if he comes back healthy. Kenny Clark, don't we compare him to Aaron Donald? Eric Stokes was taken out of Georgia. Yeah. You know what I mean? Darnell Savage was a first-round pick. I don't know who's replacing Adrian Amos, but Van Ness, first-round pick. All these dudes, Quay, first-round pick. You traded Devontae Adams, the best receiver in the league, essentially, to bring in Quay. So he better stop fighting coaches and assistants on the field and start tackling guys and making some plays. So I don't think that's that hot of a take. They should be the favorites to win the NFC North. I feel like it's pretty disrespectful seeing them with the worst odds to win the division. They're just a great unknown because we haven't seen anything from Jordan Love, but he's a first-round talent. Aaron Jones is a top 10 back in this league. A.J. Dillon was a running back that got drafted in the second round. You have Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs. You have one of the best offensive lines in the NFC North. Like, is David Bakhtiari still not one of the highest paid tackles? Is Elton Jenkins still not an all-pro guard? And then again, you go back to that defense. Matt LaFleur, he was the genius, right? The genius coach 3 years in a row. So this team should be favored. Instead, we're seeing the Detroit Lions favored with a glorified gym teacher as a head coach and a bunch of former players. I know Ben Johnson's really good, but dude, Jared Goff's their quarterback. You're trying to tell me Jared Goff's a better quarterback than this guy we moved up for in the first round? The guy that the Rams gave up on and then won a Super Bowl with a year later? So yeah, they should be the favorites. I think it's embarrassing that they're not. So I don't even think that's that hot of a take.
That's just it, though. Nobody's taking them to win it. That's why it's a hot take. Like you just said, everybody has them in the Packers in the bottom third of the NFL. You look at power rankings, they're somewhere down around 25 in all of these power rankings. Nobody has them as a top 10 team with Jordan Love. Now, could that change? If the Packers get off to a 4-2 start or a 5-1 start and Jordan Love looks good, yeah, then everybody's going to change their stance real quick and be like, okay, it's the Packers again. And then Bears fans are going to be crying. Lions and Vikings fans are going to be crying all over the place going, you got to be kidding me. They got another one. Please, for the love of God, don't let them have another one. And then those people that wanted Rodgers gone are going to be like, see, told you they made the right decision. This is what they should have done at the end of the day. And so you're going to have all of that too going on. And then everybody's going to be watching Rodgers with the Jets. Training camp starts this week, and I cannot wait because every practice that Jordan Love throws a ball, it's going to be Jordan Love missed this guy wide. Jordan Love threw a pick. Jordan Love did this. Jordan Love did that. Twitter is going to be on fire with all these beat writers with every little thing Jordan Love does throughout training camp. It's going to be amazing.
My prediction, because we're getting close here, my prediction is the two best quarterbacks in the NFC North are no longer Kirk Cousins and Jared Goff this year. I think it's going to be Justin Fields and Jordan Love, 1A and 1B. I know you're not a believer in Justin Fields. I am. I think he's going to have a monster year. Chase Claypool already on the PUP list. How about that? Chase Claypool might get cut, Sparky, or they might move on from him. They hate him.
That would be fine.
He's too busy. He's too busy dressing up like Inspector Gadget over in Paris and not putting in the work, they say. I think Jordan Love's going to be good. I'm not a hater. I think Jordan Love's going to have a solid season. I don't think the Packers are going to be bad. I don't know that they win the North. I don't really know who does. I hope it's not the Vikings.
I said 7 to 9 wins. I'm sticking with 7 to 9 wins. I might change before week 1, depending on what I see him look like in preseason. That's the other thing. How much is he going to play in preseason? That's what I want to see. I mean, we all think he's going to play, a half of football every game to try and get him and these young wide receivers and young tight ends on the same page. Like, they all have to play. This isn't Jordan Love has to play. No, this is both rookie tight ends have to play constantly. The receivers all have to play. Neither one has a full season in the NFL. They have to play constantly. And the entire time that's happening, you got to be praying to God that nobody gets hurt and loses the season over meaningless preseason games. But I don't think you have a choice. I really don't. You have to play them.
Yeah, for sure, man. My concern, with the Packers this season, isn't Jordan Love at all. It's the defense that I predicted to be top 5 last season. I went back and watched week 1 of last season again a couple nights ago, the Minnesota game, where Christian Watson drops that perfect ball to start the season. And I was like, we're screwed. It's going to be a long year offensively. But the big problem was Minnesota takes the ball first. And I'm like, top 5 defense. The entire first half. Now in the second half, the defense, they made a couple of adjustments. Also, Minnesota just ran the ball, took their foot off the gas. But dude, it was clear oh no, this defense isn't worth the hype. They just went right down the field and did whatever they wanted on that first drive. If that's the season again, I don't care how good Jordan Love is. He could throw 28 touchdown passes, 12 picks, 4,000 yards like Rodgers did year 1. He's going to win 6-7 games because you know what I mean? He's not Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs could keep coming back from the dead. And it's they gave up a touchdown. Here he comes. Or Brady could do that later on in his career. But 25-year-old Jordan Love, it's going to be hard for them to average over 30 points per game year 1 with him as the starter. So hopefully it's not the same thing Rodgers dealt with, where they would take the lead in the fourth quarter and we'd be like, hell yeah. And then the defense would just give it right up. And then Rodgers would get the ball with a minute to go. Nobody's going to win like that, So that's why I think Jordan Love, I don't know what the team is,
Yep, I agree. He is Ryan Horvat. Follow him, BetMGM tonight, weeknights on the BetQL Radio Network. Check him out on the Odyssey app. Follow Ryan Horvat on Twitter at Ryan Horvat. Follow me at Sparky Radio over there at 1250amthefan.com. We'll get back at it. Ryan's going to be off on Wednesday, so I'll be doing the show on Wednesday. I'll find a guest to do the show with me so you don't have to listen to me just babble. And then on Friday, Ryan Horvat, I think we'll have back on Friday. And if not, I'll find a guest to babble with me on Friday as well. Either way. Ryan, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your day.